So you've talked about some great evidence-based weapons against COVID-19, some of which can be done, most of which of these can be done preventatively. Are there other evidence-based, so to speak, weapons against COVID-19 that aren't being implemented as well as you wish?
Yes, hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin have been shown. There are hundreds now of clinical studies, many of them done outside the U.S., unfortunately. And so there is this misconception that we have antibiotics to deal with bacteria, but there are no antivirals. And this has been taught in medical school, and it's sort of like this huge monolith that we can't seem to get past. But in recent years, because of molecular biology, we can actually screen hundreds of medications, thousands at a time in cells for a particular activity. And so we can screen them for antiviral activity. And that's been done in the last 20 years. And so what they're finding is that molecules that they really had no idea about are highly antiviral. And they've been studied for the last 20 years. Hydroxychloroquine, for 2 decades now, has been studied for its antiviral properties. It's actually been studied as a treatment for HIV, which, so Tony Fauci knows about it because his work was on HIV, right? I can't imagine that he worked on HIV but doesn't know, as head of NIAID, infectious disease, that they're using it because it's so cheap. You can get it to a third world country and use it as a treatment for AIDS, for HIV, right? There are 6 different mechanisms that hydroxychloroquine works through. Ivermectin works through some of the same ones, but some different. So you could actually take both of them together. Okay. Both are inexpensive. They're not patented, so no one's going to make any money. Okay. They were handed out like candy. Ivermectin is a wormer, right? And so you can get it at TSC. You can get it over the counter for your horses, right? And some people are. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Hydroxychloroquine was handed out like candy for malaria, right? And so, and both can be used prophylactically. Ivermectin, the studies on that, one study that was done, I believe, in a medical setting, I think in maybe Brazil, South America somewhere, where they exposed like almost 800 people, and none of them on ivermectin got it. And they exposed almost 500 people that weren't on ivermectin as the control group, and about half of them got COVID.
God bless that control group. I read that as well. Dr. Farkas, are there any caveats to hydroxychloroquine, and as far as like other things that need to be supplemented at the same time?
Sure. See, she's right on top of everything. So one of the many mechanisms that hydroxychloroquine is anti-inflammatory, as is ivermectin, but hydroxychloroquine specifically works as a zinc ionophore. And what that means is it lets zinc into the cells. So interestingly, quinine, which is from the cinchona tree, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but basically they scraped the bark of this tree and created this really bitter, horrible stuff and used it as a treatment for malaria back way when in the day when people were colonizing like India and Africa or whatever. And so it was called the miracle tree because malaria was so terrible. Well, it tasted awful. This quinine is what they finally named it, quinine. And so they said, it's terrible. Put some gin in it.
Yeah, right? That's gin and tonic.
Right. And that's where the British got their gin and tonics. Right? They're like, I don't know why the tonic would make it better. I mean, the gin would make it better, but that's why they drank their gin and tonic. It was their malaria preventative.
Wow.
Okay. So as a result, we still actually have tonic water that has 83 milligrams per liter of quinine in it. Okay. So one way to get that zinc into your system would be to drink it with something like tonic water, which has quinine, a zinc ionophore, or green tea is also a zinc ionophore, or quercetin is also a zinc ionophore. And those are sort of naturally supplements or things that are pretty commonly available.
Goodness.
So the zinc actually prevents the virus from replicating. It prevents it from copying itself once it's inside your cells.
Which sounds like a pretty effective solution to keep yourself from getting sick, even if you've been exposed.